Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chinese Contenders. I'm Katrina, and here at the desk we have Albion and Volamel today. We have so many great matches here tonight, but first of all, we are going to start off with Lingan versus Laboratory. So, Albion, I remember when you were talking about Laboratory before tonight. They had some interesting compositional choices in their last matchup, which they did get swept in.
Yeah, we'll go with interesting for their composition choices. Realistically, what it was is they were running a very aggressive Hammond, Zarya, Doomfist, Genji, Sombra dive with Ana as the only support, and they basically ran that throughout the entire series. There was a little bit of flexing, and sometimes they had a Widow in there, sometimes they threw a Diva in there instead to kind of adapt a little bit to what T1W was doing against them, but really there wasn't that much adaptation. And when it looked good, it looked great. But the problem is this composition has no way to really mitigate damage besides Zarya bubbles, and it doesn't really have a way to actually heal up their tanks besides just Ana. So it really struggled at like retaking space. So especially on the King of the Hill maps, once they lost that first fight, it was basically over, and it made it really difficult for them to cap on 2 CP as well. We did learn after last week that they had lost one of their support players, Kaguya, who it is our understanding will be replaced this week. We don't know by who, and we're not entirely sure what that's going to do to Laboratory. Maybe they're going to change their composition. Maybe they're going to stick to this triple DPS, and unfortunately, we just really don't know.
Yes, unfortunately we don't, but I am excited to see what Laboratory will be able to come up with their new player. But Volamel, they will be facing up against Lingan, and they are going to be up against an incredible Pharah player in Kami. How can such a dominant DPS player impact this entire match?
Well, when you have a team that's going through some kind of roster turmoil, they also kind of play a very strange style. So having someone that is going to be pocketed on, control and perhaps even, Numbani, if we get to, kind of be drawn there, if by chance the team who loses this first map takes us there, he's going to have a very dominant showing. It's a hero that does need a lot of coordination to shut down effectively, because we don't see on those maps that we see far, we don't see a ton of hit scan. We do see, on Numbani, you can see the soldier, but the way that you have to play soldier doesn't really lend itself to pressuring the Pharah. But what I will say is Lingan easily the favorites in this match, but they suffered a loss against a open division team in one of the tournaments that are kind of running side by side to Contenders. And that team that beat them also is running a very strange composition. They're running actually a quad DPS composition exclusively on every map. So it's kind of strange, and Lingan got taken completely off guard. So if Laboratory comes out and runs this weird Doomfist triple DPS composition, the rigidity of Lingan might not be able to adapt to it, and we could see maybe an upset here.
That would definitely be a bit shocking. However, Albion, speaking of rigid, just having a very rigid composition, Laboratory has very strong hero preferences. For example, I believe last week Hash did not choose a hero other than Sombra. Skyshow stayed on the Genji, and Seeds was quite aggressive on his Hammond. Do you think that there is also rigidity on the side of Laboratory?
Yeah, no, there's super strong rigidity, and like you mentioned, you are completely correct. Hash actually picked Mercy at one point because he disconnected from the match and came back into a fight on Mercy, but that was it. That was the only reason he swapped off of Sombra, and they never got off the Genji. They really only flexed their Zarya to Diva occasionally and their Doomfist to Widow occasionally. And realistically, like we mentioned, Kami's Pharah was quite good last week, and those might be the only answers they actually have to a Pharah, because like we talked about, the composition has no way to mitigate damage normally, so you really need that defense matrix, and they didn't play a ton of hit scan. They really were committed to bubbling their Doomfist to allow him to kind of find them the kills, and without that, it'll be scary up against what Lingan can throw at them. But Lingan did kind of struggle a little bit over in Lens Story, and Laboratory is kind of a new team. We don't know what to expect for them, and who knows, maybe Lingan doesn't either.
Now, I will say that Hash does have a history with the open division team, the only open division team to go undefeated and kind of advance through trials into Contenders China. They didn't actually stay together. The team was called Ambitious Immortals, and he was their star Sombra player, formerly owned by the name of Hacker. And apparently he's actually not with the team any longer. Apparently he wasn't necessarily feeling the pro lifestyle, went back to streaming, and will be dominating Chinese and Korean solo queue with that Sombra pick. So, again, there's a lot of questions with Laboratory. We don't know exactly what's happening with this team. It's kind of completely up in the air. They look to be okay previously, but with this roster kind of shuffle, this turmoil, we really don't know.
And not only is there a lot of roster shuffling on the side of Laboratory, also Lingan has had quite a few changes. However, since the powerhouses of last year's Chinese contenders, LFC, have left this entire pool, Lingan could be a team that could make it into the playoffs run. What do they have to show in order to really cement their status as a potential playoff contender?
I think that for Lingan, they've made the playoffs both previous seasons of contenders, but they were only ever to win one. So we're really looking for them to kind of, this is their season that they can do more. This is their season that they can make the semifinals. But this is a match that realistically we need to see them do pretty well in. I don't necessarily think they need to 4-0 hard stomp this, but they need to take a 3-1. They need to take a confident victory here. They need to show that maybe against some of these kind of, if Lab is playing like weird compositions, they can adapt to it properly. And if Lab is now maybe with a second support player in, maybe putting in their other main tank player and actually playing some monkey for once, if they're playing something standard, maybe Lingan needs to prove that they can play that standard against a weaker team and come out on top still. This is really a match for them to win.
All right, and I have one last question for both of you. Will Lingan be able to beat Laboratory? And if so, will it be that 4-0? Will it be the 3-1 that you were mentioning, Albion? Volumel, I'll let you pick first. What's your prediction for this first matchup?
I had locked in a 3-1 for Lingan. I thought that after their Land Story Cup performance, they could show some weakness when it comes to these unorthodox compositions. And to be fair to their credit, it is kind of difficult when you're preparing for very meta compositions and some team comes at you with this kind of strange, cheesy, 4 DPS, 3 DPS, oddball composition. So I can't necessarily blame them. But when it comes to the fundamentals, I do think that Lingan takes it. But now that we're seeing this roster shuffle from Laboratory, it could be a lot easier for Lingan, if I'm going to be completely honest. Team cohesion, team synergy is important to the nth degree. It is so very important. So this could very well be a 4-0, but I won't go back on my prediction. I'll say 3-1 Lingan.
All right, and
I'm
Albion,
going to
do
have
you
to stick with
agree?
my prediction. I'm going to
Okay.
say it's still going to be a 4-0 because I think Laboratory's style and the way that they played everything is super hit or miss. And I think they showed last week, unfortunately, that they didn't have quite what it took to push it over to a hit. And unfortunately, it is mostly just miss. We did just see on the Chinese stream that we have the roster for Laboratory, and they have a second support player in by Miao, I believe, Miao.
Yep.
Was the support player in. He was listed as a Zenyatta player. So who knows? We actually might see 2 supports played this time.
That seems a bit odd to hear, especially as we are in the generation of triple tank, triple support metas. But right now, to explain things a little bit more and prepare us for our first matchup, let's throw it over to our casters, Rapture and Kenobi. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Katrina. Welcome back, everybody. It is time for Overwatch Contenders Season 3 2018, Week 2, Day 2. I am Rapture here with Kenobi for our first match of the day, Lingan Esport versus Laboratory. Kenobi, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing great, Rapture. Early in the morning, we're going to get to cast Laboratory again, a team that we casted last week. And it was interesting to see how they were playing with that triple DPS comp. The desk mentioned it a bit. And now with having Miao coming in as that second support, maybe we won't see a little bit of that cheese. Maybe we'll finally figure out what Laboratory is actually like. Because last week, it was really just because they didn't have that support player, then they could only really just run that solo Ana. So they didn't have that support player to compensate for the healing that you need in those type of compositions. So maybe now we're going to see a different type of Laboratory, and I'm definitely excited to see what they're going to bring to the table. But Lingan, basically they've been standard here in Chinese contenders throughout this, throughout these seasons so far. Season 1 made it to playoffs. Season 2 also made it to playoffs, but never really got past that quarterfinal map. So hopefully this is the season now that Lucky Future Zenith is gone, where they can start to make some moves and maybe get to the semifinals.
Yeah, absolutely. They faced off against LGD, who ended up, of course, in the grand finals. So that's a matchup that was hard for them in the quarterfinals. Certainly, if you've been following Chinese contenders, Lingan. And yeah, Lab is certainly a team that we might not have really gotten a good, fair shake at what they can really show us. But as the desk is showing that, Albia was talking about it, they're very hit or miss. We'll see if they can hit. Most of the time, it seems like they've been missing. But again, this is, only week 2. It's almost like a paradox, right? Like it's only week 2. Where and not a lot of time has happened, but at the same time, you don't have a lot of time in contenders. It goes just like that, and all of a sudden you might not qualify.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing kind of with Lingan. We're starting to figure out who they are. They were a team throughout these past couple of seasons where they had this player that where you guys might know his name was Undead, and a lot of their style last season was just pocket Undead. But now Undead is not on this team, so they have to go through a stylistic change and a composition change for themselves for Lingan. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two styles clash between these two teams. As it looks like our first map is going to be Busan. Very excited because I have yet to catch this map, Rapture.
Yeah, I love Busan. I love the autumn aesthetic. Definitely a big fan of that, of course. And obviously, it's our first map. We're going to be going to Control first. It will be Laboratory versus Lingan Esport. Kenobi, are you expecting another kind of super unorthodox playstyle out of Laboratory?
This is slightly unorthodox coming from Laboratory anyway. Pharah is an interesting pick here because you don't have that infinite skybox that we have on other maps. And as well with the Doomfist, you do have the Brigitte on Lingan to start bursting him down and get that CC, as we see there from Mello goes down to Duck.
And Lab running the Farah here, of course. Definitely Skysho's going to be looking to try and get rid of lengths on that Lucio. Getting rid of that speed boost will certainly help, especially to reestablish on the point. And as Albion was pointing out on the desk earlier, Laboratory has a hard time recapturing or taking the point a lot of the time, so we'll see how that works out for them on Control. Duck getting D-mech'd, already trying to stay alive. The tanks really trying to create some space for the rest of the team as we get a first capture here. And it's all going green on the kill feed. Lingan's going to get that first capture.
And it looks like Joyby here is actually going to be switching over to the McCree himself, try and deal with Skyshow a little bit more. Skyshow there lost his Mercy very early at the start of that fight, so really couldn't do as much damage because there was some great play there from Duck to put pressure onto Skyshow, force him off of that high ground. And now it looks like Lingan is going to be taking some percentage off at this point. Joyby here going to be trying to deal with Skyshow.
Yeah, Joyby going over to the McCree, as you said. Adudu is about to get Primal Rage since taking out Kami, though, in the meantime. And Adudu is going to go right onto the point and make sure anyone jumps onto it's immediately going to be met by these two tanks, both the Winston and the D.Va, waiting around for that dive in. And then he jumps, waiting for the tank to go away from the supports. He jumps right in. Meanwhile, Mello nano boosted, going trying to get a pick, but is out by themselves, and then Transcendence at the end of that nano boost going to certainly stuff any kind of kills from that Doomfist. Meanwhile, Skyshow looking for a barrage here, not going to find anything just yet. Mello finding the Zenyatta isolated. Skyshows going to steal a kill though, but still a 5v5 situation. Going to be swinging away there, and Bin's going to go down to Kami. Still in control as Lingan Laboratory, burning their barrage and not getting anything off of it, as well as the nano boost as well.
And Skyshow here is going to be making the switch over to the Genji now. I like this switch. The Pharah, again, wasn't really that good. You could get a lot of pressure from the D.Va, from the Winston, because of the lack of skybox there that you have. Going to be switching over to this Genji now. Going to have a little bit more mobility and a little bit of a better time trying to get into that backline. Mello, too, going to be switching over to that McCree, offer a little bit more CC.
And definitely keep on a lookout here for Adudu and Duck. Again, looking for the dives from Lab to then jump onto the support, as we saw in the last fight here. And Bin's now with the Graviton, waiting for an opportunity to burn this. Going to be avoiding the defense matrix there of the opposing D.Va Duck, who is at low HP, below at half, there it is. But 90% now for Lingan, so Lab really doesn't have a lot of time to work with, and they don't have too many resources as well. They got to rely on this Graviton, the nano boost. Meanwhile, here comes a D.Va self-destruct from above. Try to cut things off early, but it's not going to connect. Now a Graviton getting both supports here for Lab, or for Lingan, and Lab picking up two, but yeah, they're not on the point. How many times we see that, Kenobi? Good plays off the point, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, you can be as aggressive as you want, but sometimes you need to really realize that what the percentage is ticking, and that's sometimes what you lose when you're on maps like this, when you're Control. China is such an aggressive region, and trying to get those kills, you're not realizing that you need to get onto the point. And if they had, gotten those kills and then had someone get onto the point, they definitely would have won that point, and you would have had the ability to try and get that reverse sweep, but unfortunately, just not really on the same page there from the entire team, and they lose that point and they lose that map. We're going to be going to map 2 here, where it looks like your Laboratory going to be sticking to what they ran on that other map. It's interesting because Seeds there was doing a good job getting into the backline and trying to do some damage to the supports. He was forcing out some ultimates by himself, forced out the Lucio sound barrier very early in some of those fights. So it has been working a little bit so far, but against Kami here on this Pharah, you're not going to have a lot of damage mitigation besides just the Zarya bubbles.
Absolutely. So we move on to our second phase of Busan. Not too slight changes for both teams. Skyshow on the Genji, Mello. Now moving from the Doomfist over to the McCree, seeing that Kami has the Farah and probably going to be able to do some contention against Joabi, but they're moving over to the Sombra now. So both teams making changes on the fly. Now Bin's over to the D.Va. Hot swaps before we get started here, but throughout all of that, Lingan gets the first capture easily.
Seeds again going very, very deep here. This is very interesting to see how deep he's been and how aggressive he's been playing. It happened last week when we were watching them. Seeds would go very, very deep into the backline and try and get some picks. But unfortunately, if you're going to be going up against a Sombra like Joyby, you're going to get hacked. And Hammond, if he's hacked, really doesn't offer you that much, especially if you're by yourself and you don't really have that much healing. The only healing here that Laboratory really has here is Synths.
Now at 23%, Lingan still easily holding on to the point when thanks to this extra pressure from Kami. And now the Hammond going in. Seeds finds Molly. 64
nice
situation here for Lab as Kami gets picked off as well by Mello. Joyby's going to take out Seeds, but with Duck getting stunned, they really can't help out Joyby on that Sombra. And that's going to be a loss for Lab as they get steamrolled after those early picks.
Nice shots there coming in from Mello, and Mello is really going to be someone you have to look out for here, trying to deal with Kami on this fair. He's really the only one that can contest him, maybe besides Bins, who can try and get some pressure up there as well. But if Mello is able to stay alive with this Ana healing and with his Brigitte healing, he's going to be able to put a lot of pressure onto Lingan Esports as a whole.
And Seeds moving over from the Hammond to the Winston now for that hot swap and a little bit extra mobility. Or at least the barrier will be nice there to have for the Winston now. Now Mello popping the high noon to zone off anyone off the point here, trying to just get closer and closer, tying things up here for Lab. Not going to find anything, but forcing Lingan into cover. Now Sky Show still sitting on the Dragon Strike, waiting for Lingan to approach. They're going to wait as long as possible to burn it. Some are backing off here, but now they must know Joyby has the EMP ready to go. It's been long enough. The Sombra has to have that charged up. So Lab definitely wants to split up here. Sky Show finding Kami up in the air, gets the Dragon Blade, and then another one on Length as they're left out. 6v4 situation here for Lab. Sky Show picking up 2, and now looking for the tanks, and they smartly retreat. Now it's going to be 55% and counting for Lab.
I actually really like that Dragon Blade from Sky Show going to the Pharah up in the air so that the Transcendence wasn't able to get them and heal that Pharah through that damage that was coming out from the Nano Blade. Really nice job there from Sky Show. And now Laboratory is in a position here where they can milk off a little bit more percentage, but Lingan Esports is coming back with 4 ultimates of their own. They can definitely get this point back if these are used correctly.
But not a lot of time. 75% for Lab, and they have a self-destruct, so they have the means of forcing Lingan into cover if necessary. But Joyby has the Sombra EMP ready to go. Definitely waiting for Lab to clump up on the point, but they're not giving it to Joyby. Still hanging out on the perimeter of the point. Now here comes the self-destruct from Vince, trying to be proactive, trying to get the Mercy in the air, but not going to hit Pater. Joyby with the EMP. Oh, a nice sleep on the Kami. And then Duck and Adudu get 2. Now it's a 5v4 situation here as Kami goes down to Meow. Duck is going to get the DMAC onto Bins, and Bins without that self-destruct already used it, can't stay in the fight much longer. Overtime taken away from Lab, but they're losing bodies left and right. That should be a recapture for Lingan as they're going to be able to get these tanks out of the way. And now Joyby finds Meow. Now Winston going to jump onto Synths. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. 44% now for Lingan, and now they got to climb this mountain.
And the best thing about that for Lingan is that they really only used 2 ultimates and 2 DPS ultimates to win that fight. They kept the Transcendence, which is going to be absolutely huge for this next fight because Sky Show is so very close to that Dragon Blade with the Nano. But there, Joyby goes down very early to Mello's Flashbang combo. Here, it might look like Laboratory can try and get on this point.
Oh, and Mello gets caught up by the Winston, but protected just in time at 67 HP. Sky Show burning the Dragon Strike and the Nano Boost, but there's no one there. What are they doing? Sky Show, everything's getting burned and wasted for naught. Oh no, they definitely wish they could return that one, but there's no store policy. Joyby finds Mello. Duck has the self-destruct, chasing down the Genji before using it. And Adudu also fighting Mao. And Lingan just like easily taking it for over Lab. Lab burning things unnecessarily, and now they've caught themselves less than 15% for Lingan. And Lingan has resources to burn. Lab has literally no ultimates, and they're making swaps late in this round.
Some disastrous coordination there coming out from Laboratory, using that Nano Blade and getting absolutely no value into Joyby is going to be able to get away from the Hammond, but this is last fight for them, Rapture. Joyby is going to be completely uncontested in this backline and have all of these sites.
And here comes the Hammond again from Seas, but by themselves gets bursted immediately. Bins finds the self-destruct to do as Kami trades on Mello with the barrage. Both teams at 99% of direct hit, but it's not going to get a kill. He gets slept. Duck body checking Sky Show. Both Divas on the point. They're trying to get rid of the Bree and the other team supports here, but the extra help of both the Ana and the Bree is going to allow Bins to sustain against Duck, and that'll be enough for Lab to take the round and force it to a phase 3.
I can't stress how important that sleep onto Kami was from Since in that last fight. Hits that sleep, mitigates all the damage, comes back, hits him with the anti so that the Mercy can't heal him anymore, and then is able to sit on the top of that perch and just pump heals into his team. The DPS just wasn't there from the side of Lingan Esports, and they weren't able to push that all the way through. So Lab doing a good job there with some hero plays coming out from Since. Since actually looked really good on that Ana, using a lot of that heals. Last time he didn't really have any help because he was that solo healer, but now with some help from something like this Brigitte, where it's not that much healing, but you do have that burst healing potential alongside the Ana, I think it's really actually good for their team.
Yeah, honestly, Lab, I mean, I was a little worried with these hot swaps towards the end, putting themselves down at ult charge, but they really held on. They just played it straight up, didn't need any ultimates to burn it out, really. And now both teams forced to a phase 3. I mean, the Des was talking about potential 4-0s, but Lab already might be able to shut them down on that one, as Lingan, the expected favorite, might be going down a map here. If Lab can take this third phase, we moving on to this lower fight area, and it's going to be Kami leading the way here, and Lab giving Lingan some space to work with. They want to have the high ground to work with.
They also want to let Metal maybe shut up some shots a little bit. The dive comes in, but the sleep is very good. Melo's able to get the kill as well, and that's a perfectly executed peel there coming out from Laboratory. Absolutely great bait coming out from them, making sure that they dove onto the back line, but they didn't know that there was the Brigitte and Ana right next to Melo on that Widowmaker, and they're able to clean up the point. Great job from them.
Yeah, literally Lingan just lined themselves up like dominoes, and they couldn't get through the Ana healing and the Bree healing as well. So Lab, very well executed play there, bringing Lingan and, like you said, baiting them. Sky Show picking out Molly. It's going to be a stolen kill from Mello, looking for some headshots. Not going to find anything. Sombra just barely deking him out. Almost gets the translocator kill. It's still in control here is Lab.
And Lab is going to have a lot of positioning right now advantage to them. They have the Widowmaker, which can, aim down those sights. Joyby is really the only one that can try and contest Mello on that Widowmaker besides just a full dive going onto him. And as we've seen from Laboratory, they're very capable of making sure that Mello stays alive with the sleep darts, with the stuns. If any dive comes in, they're just going to try and pocket Mello and make sure he lives with that burst healing from the Ana and from the Brigitte.
Well, Lingan has to be careful now. Sky Show's about to get pulse bomb. Sees it's also going to have minefield very soon. There it goes. Sky Show throwing it down. Hit Lexa. A very direct hit right there. And Molly had Transcendence, but not in time to save the Lucio now. And now Molly's going to pop out of that, still getting the attention of Sky Show's looking for these supports. Meanwhile, Bins, they were distracted by the Tracer. They get hit by the self-destruct. You can't take cover against them both. And Lab on Lingan Esport up 51% and counting.
This is kind of a war on all fronts from Laboratory. You have to be aware of Mello in that backline, but then there's Sky Show, who's just in the backline like a pest, is just doing so much damage and getting so much value with this Tracer, and Lingan really doesn't know what to do here. Do you waste the Brigitte to stun onto something like the Tracer, or do you wait for Seeds to come in? It's just a very tough decision for them, and now Lingan, with 70% for Laboratory, they have to really make some decisions.
Oh, that's such an early pickoff too. Joyby was only 16% away from an EMP. That would have been so nice for Lingan to have. Though they did get control of the point again. Lab still up 71% here. Primal Rage popped by the Winston Adudu. And at this point, I think they're just trying to get rid of Lab. But Lab realizing that they continue to sustain on here. Mello getting right into the thick of things here, and too close for comfort. Gets shut down there by Adudu. Now Duck bolstered up, looking to get rid of these supports, but has a Hammond in the way, and then slept. Langston gets rid of Seeds. That's the job done. But Bid's fine. Oh, and almost, I think, yeah, getting hacked there. Just as Sky Show trying to get some air, forced to fight in the ground, but they have support on the way, and they get helped out there. Now, just about halfway to retaking the point here is Lab at 35% for Lingan. Lab finally takes recontrolled point.
And there you see how much they really were just annoyed with Mello on that Widowmaker. Idudu went all the way back into the backline of Laboratory and committed the entire Primal Rage to try and just zone him off the point and get him onto the low ground. And now, for Laboratory, this is last fight territory for them. Lingan needs to get on this point. They do have this Transcendence to sustain through, but Seeds has this zoning minefield.
Yeah, and there's a lot to keep Lingan off the point with the self-destruct and the minefield. They're both going to be popped simultaneously. Duck finds Bins. Neither ult getting kills immediately, but they're doing so much residual damage. It's hard for Lab to get on, or for Lingan to get on the point, but they're doing all the kills outside of the point. Idu and them also pick it up too. Mal finds Kami, but Mello really has no room to work with. There's so much healing in the way. He can't really find one single target to pick on here, and Lab trying to figure out a way back onto the point. They have time to work with, so they're not going to rush it.
And unfortunately for Bins, they're going a little bit too aggressive on that Diva. Jumped into basically 3 of the enemy team, and they were able to burst him down before Self-Destruct could get any value. The minefield not really getting the value it needed. And this is a rather close map. I mean, Lingan Esports is starting to build up a nice ultimate economy for themselves. But Mello, look out for this pulse pump, see if you can get anything good.
Flashbang coming out. Oh, Kami picking up 1. Molly is 2. So there's Lingan up 6-4 right now before this fight really gets started. Lab at 99%, but Lingan just hit 70 now. And Lab, again, not trying to force things, waiting until the team respawns.
I really like this aggressive positioning that we saw from Lingan. They're going into the spawn and going into this chokehold and making sure that they can't really move in through that chokehold and get to the point. And now, with 81% for Lingan Esports, this is last fight for them. The next fight is going to determine the map, Rapture.
Oh, Lab, I think Lab, moving over to the 76, maybe a little more mobility here, some hit scans as well. But no, they get caught up by Lingan. Duck gets one, and then a D-Mech there, as well as a kill from the Zenyatta. Just an absolute roll here from Lingan as they catch Lab away from the point, out of position, all clumped up, and they get kills, and Lab is nowhere to be found. And I'm not entirely sure why Mello went over to the 76. I'm not sure it'll be enough to sustain here. Sky Show with the EMP, but there's no one home. Gets a few, but there's no one to follow up. Seeds is not there in time, and they're gonna get one shot. And really, just everyone going in from Lab one after another by themselves. They're kind of just rolling in and staggering in. That means they're getting melted and isolated here by the remainder of Lingan. Easy kills here, and Lab faltering in this last fight. And that means Lingan will take Busan 2-1.
And Laboratory making it a little bit closer than we had expected. You know, this going into this match, we thought, oh, it's gonna be a 4-0. It's gonna be just 4 Overwatch that we've been seeing throughout this entire throughout yesterday and the weekends that we've had previous. But it looks like Laboratory actually has been coming back. So this is interesting to see how these two teams are playing, especially Seeds on the Hammond. I'm interested in how he's been deciding to pick that hero because Hammond there was going up against so much CC. You had the Shield Bash, you had the McCree stun as well. And when you're a Hammond going up against that much CC, it's very difficult for you to do anything. Even he was going up against the Sombra. So it seems like he has no fear. Maybe this is just a comfort pick for them, but I'd like to see them maybe run a Reinhardt, something that has a little bit more shielding, a little bit more sustain, and not just going in because you don't have a lot of damage mitigation. With that Hammond, you kind of just have that burst potential to the backline and that disruption.
Mm-hmm. You know, honestly, despite the roster turmoil this team's already had, Lab definitely looking better than we saw them in the previous week, and seem to have like less, you know, of a struggle retaking the point. So definitely a different team than we saw previously. But that means that, you know, they're still not out of it. Of course, Kobe. That was only map 1. Don't go anywhere, everyone. After a quick break, we'll be bringing you map 2 between Laboratory and Lingan Esports. Don't go anywhere. More Overwatch Contenders try to Season 3, 2018, Week 2, Day 2, coming your way on Broadcast.gg.
The lights in here are blinding me. I can't see clearly anymore. I have no fear how this will end. No, nothing scares me anymore. If we never see tomorrow, babe. If we never make it through today. If we never see tomorrow, babe. I know that I lived how I wanted to. If we never see tomorrow, babe. If we never make it through today. If we never see tomorrow, babe. I know that I lived how I wanted to. The lights in here are blinding me. I can't see clearly anymore. I have no fear how this will end. No, nothing scares me anymore. If we never see tomorrow, babe. If we never make it through today. If we never see tomorrow, babe. I know that I lived how I wanted to. If we never see tomorrow, babe. If we never make it through today. If we never see tomorrow, babe. I know that I lived how I wanted to.
Welcome back, everybody, to Broadcast.gg. It is Overwatch Contenders China, Season 3, 2018, Week 2, Day 2. And we have Lingan Esport versus Lab in our second map of the series after a 2-1 victory on Busan for Lingan. Kenobi, we're moving on to Numbani. Any expectations going into this map?
So for Numbani, I'm expecting some more dive-oriented compositions. Maybe not this Hammond. It seems like those seeds is really just that's his comfort pick. I'd like to see a little bit more, maybe some dive with some Diva and some Winston. You know, bring that in there because of the high ground that you have. Also, maybe some hit scan. We could be seeing some soldier. We saw BTRG actually yesterday start running the soldier on defense here because you have that high ground. You have a lot of those good sight lines, and if they dive onto you, you have that health pack available for you. That biotic field on the ground to keep you sustained. But it looks like here we're actually going to be seeing, if that's real, that is a Torbjorn Rapture.
Well, we are certainly in Chinese Contenders looking at these strats.
That spot is so cool.
And this is the thing, too, is that we expect, like, these experimental things from Lab, right? But Lingan coming out with something that is probably one of the more experimental things to really run here, this, you know, more unorthodox kind of strat. And on first point defense, this could definitely be hit or miss. If the Torb gets melted early, that could be it.
Yeah, but Torb does, with the rework, have that ability to stop any dive coming at him. And it looks like for the offense here, we're going to be seeing an offensive Marissa for Laboratory. So here, this is just interesting. Maybe they're just going to try and take the high ground here and then have Mello on that soldier just behind the shield, just pumping out a lot of damage, a lot of sustained damage. But they're getting caught by Kami there. Since goes down, and that's definitely detrimental to their push.
Yeah, that was a great 1-2 punch. Sleeping the Orisa, that means that the Ana had nowhere to hide, easily picked off by the Kami with those direct shots. So already a good start here for Lingan. They have the barrier, they have options to make it hard for Lab to dive on them, and of course they have the Pharah for that long range damage.
And the good thing that for the composition of Laboratory is once they get this high ground, they are going to be able to try and deal with Kami and put a lot of pressure on him. Mello is going to be really that person to look out for, trying to get Kami out of the sky, because Kami is really what's going to make Lingan Esports win this game. As the point gets taken, but it's just a Sombra.
And Lab going over to the Mellow 76 again. It didn't work out at all on
What a
Busan.
boot.
Saw very
Oh
little.
my
Yeah, great
gosh.
boot, forcing Mellow to the ground. There's nowhere for him to run. An absolutely textbook boop there from Kami.
Fantastic boop, and that's really what you want to get. If there's anyone you really wanted to boop off that high ground, it is Mello on that soldier. And now Kami already towards a barrage himself. Kami's really been the name of the game so far. Joyby really hasn't done that much on the Torbjorn. He's kind of just sat there and been like, okay, Kami, just carry me. It's fine.
I mean, really, yeah, it's almost like why, you put the Torb in a bad position. Just have the Pharah do all the work. Then when Lab gets too close for comfort, that's when the Torb starts breaking it and letting it down. So Kami getting in position for a barrage. Oh, and using the concussive blast to force themselves right into the corridor for a very up-close barrage. And that will get a burst option onto the D.Va, forcing them out of their mech. But that's all they get for the barrage. Still, that's more than enough to get Lab to retreat.
And I think this is really where I'd like to see Laboratory switch it up a bit. This isn't working, and you're really just bashing your head against a wall here. You've already used 2 minutes, and it looks like they're going to do just that. They're all walking off the point. They're all walking off the edge here. They're going to be switching over to some different compositions. I hope, because Mello has been switching over to that Tracer. Seeds here, I'm interested. He's going to be going back to that Hammond, so he really just likes this Hammond. Hammond D.Va going to offer a little bit more damage in the backline, but again, you don't have that damage mitigation for the Pharah. There's no shielding besides that defense matrix.
Oh, Sky Show getting caught out a little bit, forced to retreat for just a moment. Kami still, I feel like no one shot at Kami. Kami has just been doing unmitigated damage this entire time, boosted up by the Mercy, and doing so many easy shots and getting a lot of scouting done too. They already know the D.Va's flanking almost by themselves. Sense, though, does get the turret kill on his Joyby in the meantime, but of course that Tor's be able to rebuild that immediately. Hammond on the high ground, but out by themselves is going to be the attention of Kami, but force them into the background as we're getting a high ground rotation here from Lab. And really, they're just waiting until Sky Show has the EMP. They already have a nano boost, so they can burst onto Lingan if they need it. But Lingan being highly mobile, getting away from this EMP if it's going to drop. Self-destruct in the backline, that's not going to find pay dirt. And now the point getting slightly captured here, but Lab has to worry about the fight more than really capturing this point. They are going to get a quick...
Ooh, barely.
Very, very close. And there's the EMP, but only 1 or 2 players for Lingan are on the point. That's all they're going to get EMP'd off here. Since we'll find Lingan, Mello with a big pulse bomb on Anudu. And now a barrage finds Anna. The sleep's not there in time. Going to take a nap, but they do get the pick first off. Lab losing their Lucio as well to that Torb turret. The sleep just barely whips from Molly, but they're going to try and still hit Duck just in time. And Duck stays alive. Great healing from Molly to keep him up. And now a self-destruct trying to salvage this fight here. Duck super low. Gets biotic. And Molly really standing on their head here, but it's not enough to hold off Lab. Lab finally has player advantage on the point at 18 seconds remaining. They are going to get a second tick here. And now that should be enough here.
They're back.
Take first point, but Lingan's still not have it just yet. Their supports are up, but Link's going ham, getting onto the point here, but they have to touch. And Joyby does get there just in time. And D.Va now forcing these squishies from Lab to hide behind the payload, but everyone for Lingan's super low as well. They don't have any healers, and Duck's gonna go down. Overtime ticking away, and just in time, Lab gets the point.
And it looks like really when Laboratory decides to switch their comps, they do have a little bit of some flex picks that they have available to them. Here they're going with the Sombra and the Tracer. A lot of backline damage and a lot of backline burst potential here. And they're coming out of it with an EMP for themselves. Lingan going to be switching over to a more 3-2-1 composition. Going to bring Joyby on that Sombra so that they have something to counter the Sombra on the other side. But I like their really from Laboratory, since is really the star player of that last fight. He was sitting on the high ground doing a lot of healing and a lot of damage as well. It's nice to know when you have an Ana who can do a mixture of both, keeping your DPS alive while also pumping out that damage in those anti-heals.
Oh, could be an EMP for at least 4 or 5 there from Sky Show, and there it is, dropped right down just as the Winston trying to get something going here. Dudu has nowhere to run, taking a lot of damage and trying to help their other tanks not go down first. A nice biotic grenade again by Molly to keep these tanks alive. Lab losing their Sombra. Mello with the pulse bomb, and that's not going to find Pater, but Duck gets Mao. And Mao had the sound barrier. That's such a huge loss for Lab in this fight. There's no way to sustain without that. And now Binz is going to get staggered out, has to retreat, doesn't lose the mech. The Lingan will take the fight win at about 1 minute and 20 seconds.
Laboratory here is actually going to be switching over to more of a full dive composition. We're going to be still staying on this Hammond, but we're going to see the Genji and the Tracer, the classic dive composition. Kami is going to have to be very, very careful with his shield dashes here, but here's a huge EMP from Joyby.
And Kami with the shield bash with Sky Show duck on Mao. That's a 6v3 situation here for Lingan, making it look easy. Seeds and Meow going down and Bins with their ultimates. You hate to see that happen.
You hate to see it, Rapture. You hate to see it, and you hate to see Lingan, or Laboratory rather, in this position. It's going to be very hard for them to get out of this point. They really are up against a ultimate mountain from the side of Lingan Esports here. They have a good amount of ultimates that they can use to just continue to sustain onto this point and win these fights.
Maybe just getting this background scouting and damage done. There's the sound barrier thrown down, but Lengza gets caught out by the minefield by Seeds. Jwaby doing some unmitigated damage in the backline, but it's really not enough to stop Lab from pushing up here on the payload. Melo finds Molly in the meantime. Now Seeds doing a lot of pressure here on the D.Va, forcing him out of the cockpit with the help of Sky Show. And that's full control here for Lab, but they are still less than 10 seconds to go here, Kenobi, and they still have to get around this last corner.
Lab did use a lot for that last fight, though, and now Lingan Esports is coming back with a good ultimate advantage of their own. There is this nano from Sins, and if Sky Show can hurry up and get that Dragon Blade, we could see a nano blade that could push him towards that second point.
The nano boost is going to be clutch here. That's all they have to burn. Primal Rage going to force Lab off the point. Duck has a self-destruct to use after the Primal Rage, and Ling is going to burn that sound barrier just in time, too, as Sky Show's getting closer and closer to Dragon Blade. Might want to save it for that, though. Self-destruct comes down. Sky Show uses the payload as cover. There's a Dragon Strike, forced to reflect, so not getting the damage off immediately, and then bashed backwards. Sky Show gets cut down, too. Amalia again on the board. 5v5 situation here. Overtime taken away. They need to keep these tanks on the payload. No, but Lab backed up. They backed up, and Lingan lets them. And the paint. Oh my God.
They can't keep getting away with it, Raptor. They just can't. That's
Lab
the second time we've seen that Lab just completely forego the objective, playing way too aggressive, and it was also some good zoning from Lingan there. Something that was really cool in that last fight as well was Duck was able to peel really well for his supports. It looked like their Molly was about to go down, or whoever the Brigitte player was. It was Kami, rather. Kami was about to get sliced by that Genji, but there was that D.Va who booped the Genji away so that the Genji couldn't get the kill, couldn't get the dash reset. Yeah. And after that, unfortunately, Lab just not able to get onto the point because of the zoning potential coming out from LGE. So good job from LGE, but Lab, man, you got to get on that point.
Yeah, honestly, despite what seems like, a new Lab, still like old habits die hard for this team. That's really been the story. They're still kind of falling into the same traps that we saw them in week one. Trying these sometimes unorthodox compositions, still getting caught out on the point. They're doing better retaking the point too here, but the C9's backing up.
Oh, Sky Show.
Yeah, that was a great sleep there, by the way. Nice replay. Thanks for that. And yeah,
Sky Show. Did you see Sky Show? He BM'd with the hello and then didn't get the combo kill. That's like the worst feeling, I bet.
Yeah, that's the time to get bodied.
He's like, yeah, this is gonna be on my montage. Look at this awesome combo, and then so Sombra just translocates away.
That's a clip right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a clip for the wrong reasons this time.
Exactly. So, yeah, you really hate. We said it earlier, but you really hate to see that happen. Lab really had everything going for them, and we're seeing a stronger team, but still, like I said, old habits dying hard for them. And now Lingan on their offensive attempt. They only got to get halfway through the map here, Kenobi, to make it 2-0.
And Lingan here is going to be running the Super McCree composition that's been called. They're going to use this McCree here. Zwoibi is really going to be the person to look out for. They're going to make sure that he can just pump out a lot of damage just for free, keep him alive, and make sure that he's just putting so much damage into the enemy team as Sky Show goes down almost immediately.
Yeah, and Lab taking this high ground position, but once, as you can see, Lingan goes down to the point, Lab is forced to meet them there, and they just stagger onto the point one by one, and this is kind of what happened on Busan. They don't approach the point correctly, and they get absolutely melted, and Lingan literally taking point A in less than 40 seconds.
And I'm not sure what Sky Show was thinking there. He dashed into the enemy team basically 1v6, and that's definitely not what you want to do against a composition like this. You have too much CC on the enemy side. Hero plays like that don't really work, and it didn't work there. And now for Lingan Esports, they're going to be running through the second phase with a lot of ultimates to their name. They could just run through this point completely.
Yeah, but Lab, they don't have any ingredients. Look at that ult charge. They need to build a new concoction here, but they don't have a control. They don't have what they need. They need the right chemicals here, and so far, Melo's really the closest to a high noon other than the nano boost from Synth. So they could try and go for, the electric cowboy potentially, but it's going to be hard to hold the sightline as that McCree with the dive potential that Lingan has, plus McCree of their own. Maybe has a high noon. There's Seeds diving in with the pile driver, but again, they take so much damage, they're forced to back up. Sky Show,
what a stun.
Great stun. What a stun on that Dragon Strike. They can't find the McCree. Still 5v5 situation here for both teams. Shuabi now with the high noon, with this long sightline, forcing Lab to back up. And now they're closer to this checkpoint. Bins gets stunned and D-mech there. Nowhere for them to run. Lingan cleaning them up, putting them up into the garbage, and mopping them up easily. These floors looking squeaky clean out here, Kenobi. Less than a meter to go. And Lingan will swoosh it up, takes another map, and now it's 2-0 for Lingan.
And there we see the value of this composition with the Super McCree, really. You saw just how much they were able to snowball through that last point. And with the CC that was coming out from Lingan there, very hard for someone like Skyshow to get into the backline and do a lot of damage. You have the Brigitte stun, you have the McCree stun. And as we saw there when he tried to Dragon Blade, he got bopped almost immediately, completely deleted off the map. So it's difficult there from Skyshow to play that kind of Genji, especially if you're diving in 1v6. That's definitely a position you don't want to be in. So I'd like to see maybe a little bit more of a clean Genji play coming out from Skyshow.
Well, let's see what the desk wants to see. We saw 2 maps, Katrina, Albion, Valamel. What do y'all have to say about those 2 maps?
All right. Well, we certainly have quite a bit to say, especially about what just happened there on Numbani. I know when we were watching that point A attack coming in from Laboratory with the Orisa, that made all three of us at first a little bit excited, maybe a little bit confused. But Volamel, why didn't that first attack work out for Laboratory? I felt like it took them at least 3 minutes to set up.
Well, Katrina, you little softballer, you. It was the comedy show just coming in hot, absolutely demolishing everybody. They had literally 2 minutes of just absolute destruction from Kami, and it was so difficult for this slow Lucio-less Orisa to, trudge through Numbani spawn, shop a little bit on her way there, sightsee a little bit before she can even get to the high ground. And once she's there, Kami's there praying from above, just completely controlling the skies. And like you mentioned in the pre-show, absolutely like booping the soldier off the high ground, just like a masterclass of Farah. Everything was beautiful. Movement was on point. Like, I can't speak highly enough of Kami's Farah.
And I was also a little bit confused why there wasn't a Lucio accompanying that. Let's just say, oh, I can't think of any nice way to say it, the very slow Orisa. So, Albion, Laboratory really did enjoy running that Ana Brigitte combination on both Busan and Numbani. They eventually did switch over to the Lucio on Numbani, but could you explain to me why? Why would you choose to run those two supports together?
Yeah, and this is a support duo that they were pretty committed to. They were playing it on Busan as well. And realistically, it's probably one of the stronger anti-dive support duos you can play. Of course, the Ana can nade herself. There's the armor pack for the Ana. There's sleep, there's a boop, there's a stun. There's a lot of good things there for that support duo to survive. But the problem is when Lingan isn't running any sort of dive and they're actually playing a Pharah up in the sky, the support duo doesn't make all that much sense. You don't really do anything against what Lingan is throwing at you. And like we mentioned, especially on Numbani, when Kami is getting just the 1 kill, right? He's knocking the soldier off the high ground with the boop. He's fighting 1 kill as you're running back from spawn. The distance that the attacker spawn is from the point is so massive that, like we mentioned earlier, it took them seriously, I think, 2.5 minutes before they were ever able to set up a proper fight. And that was once they completely swapped their composition and they finally did pick up a Lucio and they went back to their Hammond. It's looking like the cracks are kind of starting to show for Laboratory, and maybe they run out of answers and they really might only have that kind of one style with a really aggressive heavy dive to deal with. And that support duo that they're playing, the Ana Brig, doesn't make any sense in that dive setup.
However, though, Laboratory has been showing a little bit more versatility going into these first two maps. During Busan, not only did we, of course, see Seeds on the Hammond most of the time, but he did actually switch over to Winston on Sanctuary, and another hero who we've seen quite a bit coming from Laboratory is that Brigitte. So yes, they are sticking with a couple of comfort picks, but Sky Show especially has been showing a lot more versatility and flexibility. Volamel, do you think that Sky Show has been stepping up as a DPS player, and is he one of the players that this team can lean upon?
Oh, easily. After Busan, I think I was shocked awake, and the
Yeah.
coffee I think hit me. My just the blood started moving because that was not really expected. I think Laboratory, we were expecting the triple DPS, and while they had a very interesting take on how to defeat the dreaded tank compositions. For the most part, they were kind of leaning back onto something a little bit more reminiscent of standard play, which was great. We saw that DPS duo, use the nano blade to eliminate the Pharah in the sky, which isn't easy. It's pretty difficult. You don't typically see that out of too many Genji blades these days. And then you actually have the McCree coming out from Laboratory, and had one heck of a game on Busan, especially on Sanctuary. Things are looking good for them when they can play their style of gameplay. Numbani again, you could kind of chalk that up to just the game plan kind of failing on their attack and just kind of getting in their own heads. So we go into game 3, see if we can make a comeback there.
Yeah, and it's a good point to bring up about the differences in the map types, where on King of the Hill you can play a little bit more brawly and you can kind of fall back on these comfort picks. But the problem is once Mello ends up on the McCree and we have Skyshow on the Genji, but you also randomly have a Hammond in there, the comp starts making no sense basically for Numbani. You have some backline heroes kind of in your Anna, Brig, McCree, but then you have some frontline heroes kind of in your Diva, Hammond, and Genji, and they're trying to go in, but meanwhile they're not able to make a whole lot happen because there isn't follow-up, right? There's not that second dive here. There's no Discord orb for them to follow up on. There's no Lucio to speed them in further. And it really shows like on Busan and Sanctuary when Mello is able to pop off and he's able to hit shots right on this McCree. It works fantastically when you're centered around this one point. But once you kind of get spread out over the map, these compositions start falling apart really fast.
And we had some very condensed parts of maps when we were on Busan. However, I'd like to talk a little about how Lingan was able to counter such aggressive compositions. As we did mention in our pre-show, they had struggled against cheesy compositions earlier this weekend, getting 3-0'd by an open division team. However, I was very impressed with their more standard compositions, and Shuebi especially has been swapping over to the Sombra with great impact against the Hammond on the side of Laboratory. Do either of you think that right now Lingan is kind of showing that they are indeed a playoff ready team? How strong are they looking right now?
I would say outside of a couple positional errors that I've seen when they tend to run the Winston Zarya Diva composition from Adudu, where he can find himself on top of a Brig at times. And we know that if you're on top of a Brig, you're probably stunned, you're probably discorded, and you tend to be in the spawn room shortly after that. So, outside of those kind of strange leap ins, the team as a whole looks to be quite solid. This is kind of comforting me in terms of how I value them, because my biggest question coming into this was, I want to see a little bit more adaptation out of them, and they've shown so far that they can do that.
And we are about to see if both of these teams are going to be able to adapt, as we will be headed to the moon for Horizon Lunar Colony for our next map. Rapture and Kenobi, take it away.
Thanks so much, Katrina. Welcome back, everybody. It is time for map number 3. We got to find out, is the dark side of the moon here for a lab, or can they come out into the sun, into the light, and try and swing things around for a reverse sweep? They got to do it right now. If they lose this map, the series is over for them. So Kenobi going into Horizon Lunar Colony, we know Lab having some difficulties in the first 2 maps. What would you like to see out of them in this third one?
I would like to see a little bit more of a composition, kind of, and a little bit more thought to their composition. It's because Albion mentioned it on the disc. It seems like sometimes the compositions that they have are like just 2 separate compositions that aren't really the same thing. You have that backline presence, but you also have the frontline dive presence with that Hammond. So I'd like to see a little bit more rounded out, and it looks like your Laboratory is going to stick to what they're comfortable with if this offense is coming out for real. But for Lingan, we are going to be seeing this kind of bunker composition here with this Widowmaker and this Junkrat, rather. Just have a lot of time to just pump out a lot of damage with that Junkrat, farm up that tire very, very quickly, and then try and get one of those picks.
Let's see how much they can pump it up out here. Lab going to be starting out first on offense, going for a right side push. Genji literally going out. Skyshow out into the vacuum to start things off. And in fact, it looks like they're all going. Are they all going out there? I think they're literally going outside to try and go for a full right side rotation. Lingan's
on a spacewalk, dude. They just want to go to the spacewalk. But this is a rotation that we don't see too often, going all the way fully in space. Sometimes you'll just see them go through the. But there's the Hammond right there, jumping onto a lot of people. Skyshow blows up Kami.
Yeah, and Seeds, I mean, we almost knew that diving in there, Seeds was going to get blown up, but they make it worthwhile. Skyshow does get the kill, but they're super low, 28 HP, and will find the dash into Juebi just in time. Still, 4v4 situation, another trade as Melo goes down. And now Lab is going to nonchalantly walk up onto the point here, but there are 2 tanks still together. If Lab can't break up those 2 tanks, it'll be hard for them to take the point. They're going to use Seeds to try and, get the Orisa and Diva of Lingan separated, but still very hard. Bin's going down as well. Lingan doing a great job keeping these 2 tanks together. The healing's there as well. Adudu is going to go down as the Diva was trying to chase down Skyshow, and in that brief window, the Orisa will go down. Now, an even trade still. 5v5 situation. Duck has the self-destruct, but they got to get rid of that Bree. Want to get rid of that barrier, no matter how narrow it is. It's still in control of the point here is Lab. I mean, they have those 2 ticks already. Molly finds Seeds still, though. Nice. Gonna have the tire come in and get rid of Skyshow. Lingan in control, but they do give up almost 2/3 of the point to do so.
That, and there are some really good ultimates coming up from Laboratory. You have this Pulse Bomb and you have this Dragon Blade, and on the other side, really, Molly is going to be the one to look out for. If Molly can get this Transcendence before the Blade comes out, which he looks like he might, it's going to be what they need to counter it. So this is going to be a very interesting fight coming up here as the dive comes in again from Seeds.
The thing is, though, Molly has a Transcendence that can shut down Skyshow, and Melo needs to hit a fat Pulse Bomb here and make it worthwhile. Already, I think Seeds using that Minefield, that's not going to pay off much. Kami finds Skyshow before they're able to use the Dragon Strike, the big loss. They will lose Duck as well. They still have Idudu on the hem, and that's enough to at least sustain until Duck gets back into their mech. Likes a big biotic ray on the Synths. Kami doing a lot of spam damage, making it hard for Lab to really get out, even retreat. There's so much spam damage they can't get away. Idudu gonna fight 2 and stagger that Melo as well. 1 minute and 35 seconds on the clock for Lab, and they still only have that first third.
But, however, Lingan did use that Transcendence in that last fight, so this is going to be a free blade for Skyshow. If he can get into that backline, it's going to be floor free for them because Lingan doesn't really have any defensive ultimates. They only have the Nano about to come out for them. However, if Kami can get this tire and single out that Genji before the Dragon Blade starts, that's going to be huge. But there's the Dragon Blade.
Oh, and Skyshow really not in position to get any kills there. It doesn't have an Nano boost and a great stun yet again. It's like deja vu. We saw that on Busan. We see it again here on Horizon Lunar Colony. Skyshow getting shut down. And that self-destruct from Mince fights Kami, but Kami outdoes him. A huge Riptire finds Mao, and since both supports going down, Lab, there's no way to keep their tanks alive without those supports. And Molly's just going to throw down some orbs for good measure. 45 seconds on the clock here for Lab, and still very little to show for it.
Again, the only ultimate that they have is that Hammond minefield, and on Lingan you don't really have anything in yourself, so you only have the minefield for yourself. So this next fight, Melo is switching over to that McCree, gonna get a little bit more burst damage because the Tracer has been doing so much and getting so little value with that Brigitte. They're able to stun every single time.
Yeah, it's again, though, those late switches for Lab putting themselves at a even more of an ult disadvantage here. Seeds using the minefield, but not on the point. So Lingan can really just kind of rotate around this, and that's not even an issue. There's still mines there that even haven't exploded because no one's there from Lingan to activate them. Now it Transcends is ready for Molly, and they're going to pop it immediately as Skyshows in the background. They don't want to risk losing this Zenyatta early in the fight. But no ultimates were fought for Lab, so really that Transcendence might not have even been needed. Duck gets rid of Skyshow nonetheless. Kami again, unmitigated spam damage, and Lab does not have it to get rid of this Junkrat. Melo almost does the job, but can't stay close enough to finish it off. Now overtime ticking away, and Lab doesn't even seem like they have a control. Their hypothesis is not coming to fruition here, Kenobi, as Lingan easily holds point A.
And something that Seeds was doing during that last map during the last round rather, that I was a little bit curious about was he kind of did the same path the entire time, would always dive the same way, by the right side of the point, just every single time, just go in there and hit that control. Sometimes you gotta stop, you gotta vary it up a little bit, because it seems like Lingan has really just read what the Seeds is trying to do on this Hammond. He's gonna go in, he's gonna get that ground and pound, but then the pile driver is gonna come out, but there is that discord there is that stun there that they're saving just for him. And when you're losing that main tank, you lose a lot of sustainability, you use a lot of that health bar, and it's just not the value that you want from that. Although they did take 2/3 of the point, you definitely want to be taking the full point. 2/3 is not what you want against a team like Lingan Esports, who can definitely just roll through and completely just win this map, as we saw them do on Numbani, where they just ran through the entire point very, very quickly.
Yeah, I think what Lab's really trying to do here is like, okay, Seeds is going to go in anyway. Let's have him go in, but we're going to try and trade at least, right? The problem is that they're gambling on that trade. Skyshow was only able to get that trade off of a Seeds death in the first fight. We didn't see it again afterwards. Seeds, again, going down, burning minefield, not getting kills, getting melted. They got to almost babysit a character that shouldn't really need to be babysat. So Lab definitely needs to change things up. They don't have a lot of opportunity to do so.
especially with the healing that you have from Laboratory. I mean, in that last match, you really only have the burst healing of Brigitte, and since can't be, again, babysitting, like you mentioned, can't be babysitting the Hammond every single time because he has other people he needs to heal. And now Laboratory is going to be bringing out this Genji Doomfist, a lot more dive on this composition. It's going to be very difficult for Sins to try and make sure everyone is healed because he has to have he has to have the aim of a god really to keep everyone alive.
I understand, man. Sometimes you're just watching this, you get choked up a little bit trying to figure out these compositions. I hear you. And that's what the desk was talking about, too. These lab compositions falling apart at the seams, and it's hard to sustain against Lingan. The longer these fights go on, it seems like Lab kind of unable to make it last. And all right, so doing what Seeds couldn't get done, diving in, not getting melted. Great play to get, to stay alive. Now drawing the attention of Lab's backline. So, and Lab letting him walk right in. They haven't even turned around. He's literally just doing this damage, and Bins gets demeched in the meantime. They have so much to worry about. Lingan attacking at all fronts here, and Lab has no idea who to focus on. They're scattered. Skyshow and Mello, though, picking up the slack. Find two. Duck and Kami going down. Mello super low, though, but will find their Ana. Molly gets rid of Skyshow gets rid of Molly. And look at that. Lab, despite that scattered kind of play, they do take out Lingan.
Skyshow has a little bit of a pop-off moment in the back there, but unfortunately with the IDoDo on that Hammond going into the backline, while he did take a lot of the attention away, the attention really was good from Laboratory to just switch back, understanding that, the Hammond is not even near the point. We have a 5v6 basically right now, so we can start to put some pressure on the enemy team, and it worked out for them. But Joyby, with this EMP, it's going to be huge.
Yeah, and no counter EMP for a Lab means, this could be one and done right here. One EMP, and that could be it. But they have a Dragon Strike that might be ready in time. Skyshow just about 12% from that ult ready to go, but the Sombra EMP is there first. The Doomfist is nowhere to run. There's no cooldowns to burn. Skyshow with the Dragon Strike, but they're super low. Great play, and Molly takes him out. IDoDo with the minefield, and you better be clicking the right tiles here. Lab, unfortunately, they might get blue screen. Kami and Molly on the board. 2 minutes and change remaining. Lingan looking to clean things up. Seeds nowhere to roll. And just about 2 minutes left easily. Lingan taking the point, and that means they will take the series 3-0. We do have one more map left, but Lingan showing out to be a dominant force here against Lab.
Another instance of really Skyshow trying to use that Dragon Blade and he got the value of 1 kill, but again, it seems like whenever Skyshow is hitting those Dragon Blades, Lingan is just so good at countering it and using their abilities to make sure that doesn't get them as value, using the Transcendences in the other maps here, using the Brigitte stun to try and get him, and then Molly using his Omnic foot to just hit him in the head and make sure that he doesn't get the kill onto him, because Molly was about 5 health, and with that dash reset, Skyshow might have been able to get something done and maybe help hold that point for just a little bit longer.
Well, it's now time for essentially our last break of the series so far. It will be a map 4 to see. Can the map differential change here for Lingan? Will they get to 4-0? Will they get the 3-1? Can Lab try and trip them up a little bit here in week 2? We'll find out on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere. More Overwatch Contenders China Season 3, 2018, Week 2, Day 2, coming your way here at Broadcast.gg.
taking all the weight off your shoulders. Now it's all gone, falling into 1 year older. It's funny how our love began when I was sober. Now I stumble in a room where nobody else cares. Now I'm in two minds thinking about you. I'm in two minds thinking whether I'm too kind to give you all of my truth. I'm in two minds thinking. Now I'm in two minds thinking about you. I'm in two minds thinking whether I'm too kind to give you all of my truth. I'm in two minds thinking. We've been knocked down way too many times, and now my tries deja vu round, spinning me into another lost time. Tell me where this road will end before I drive over the edge. Give me one break to recover myself, because I can't bear. Now I'm in two minds thinking about you. I'm in two minds thinking whether I'm too kind to give you all of my truth. I'm in two minds thinking. Now I'm in two minds thinking about you. I'm in two minds thinking whether I'm too kind to give you all of my truth. I'm in two minds thinking. You take me higher than love. You're making me feel some kind of way. And now we see. You take me higher than love. You're making me feel some kind of way. You take me there.
Welcome back, everybody. It is time for map number 4 between Lingan Esport and Lab. I'm Rapture, still here with my main man, Kenobi, for our first set, our first of 3 sets today. So definitely stay with us here at Broadcast.gg if you want your entire fill of Contenders China here on a beautiful Sunday. Kenobi, our 4th and final map of the series is Dorado. We've seen a lot from Lingan. We've seen a lot from Lab. Lab at this point has to, try and trip up Lingan. Do you think they can do it?
They might be able to do it. I don't expect them to really differ from what they've been playing so far. Probably going to be seeing Seeds again on this Hammond. It seems to be his comfort pick, and it's weird that we haven't seen any Reinhardt, and we've seen very little Winston coming out from him. 2 picks that we see as such a high value in the meta currently, and just Seeds seems to be like, okay, well, Hammond's a character. Hammond's my favorite character. I'm going to be playing Hammond.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen more Hammond and like Orisa more than we've seen Winston and Reinhardt, the main tanks you'd expect at this point. But no, I mean, a lot of Hammond, a lot of Orisa this set, and both teams comfortable with it though. Seeds, like you said, yeah, definitely throwing his body to the pile more often than not.
And it looks like Lingan here is going to be playing some sort of a bunkerish composition here. Going to have that shield from Idudu to pocket the Widowmaker, but there is on the other side Mello, who is going to be the counter Widowmaker to Zruibi here. And on the other side, you have the pharmacy as well from Kami. And as we talked about it on the disc from Volamel, Kami's movement and just play on fair is very, very good so far.
Here's the problem though, Lab doesn't have any barriers, so Zhuibi and Kami can just do all this damage, and they really only have the defense matrix and the Meow like small narrow shield to really, you know, take care of that damage and get away from it. So we'll see how that pays off. Lingan going to be able to just bolster themselves at the fountain. That's really what we've been seeing in this meta in Dorado. You let them come to fountain and you stall them out there with this, you know, a lot of damage from far away and as many barriers really you can put up here. So Lingan now just with the one barrier, they don't have a breed, but they have the biotic from Molly and the Mercy. So there's so much healing that can be done. Though Kami gets picked off by Mello.
That's a good shot from Mello. The res is going to come out, but Mello is popping off a little bit. Nice hook shot from him, and it looks like they actually are going to have the advantage here in this fight, Rapture.
Mello, you got to pick off that Mercy's head too, but better than nothing with those headshots. Still though, in control of the fountain just slightly here. Laboratory has to get rid of this defense from Lingan. It looks like the remainder will get melted, so Lab, a good start here thanks to these picks from Mello.
I like the patient play coming out from Laboratory, then not really just diving full on into the backline willy-nilly. Good picks here, and it looks like it's just a matter of time before they're going to get this point. They do end up getting it, but again, Laboratory showing a little bit of patience, not really doing what they were doing beforehand with Siege just diving into the backline willy-nilly, and they're rewarded with a good ultimate bank here. They have the rally as well going on, so Laboratory looking a lot better on this Dorado map than they were previously.
Yeah, staying together pays off, Kenobi. I think that's the lesson we've seen already. Not getting too
fight with your friends.
Exactly, fight with and for your friends out here. Lab now.
The power of friendship.
With 3 ultimates on the board and Bin's about to get a 4th, but they are pretty a ways out here from Mouse and the Widowmaker. Stun! Amazing play. Skyshow almost feels like they get stunned every single Dragon Strike, but that's not going to stop them from letting them go wild on Lingan. Zhuibi does get 1, and a bunch of other kills are stolen away from the Genji. So Lingan again stopped here by Lab.
And it's really good that Skyshow actually used that Dragon Blade aggressively, understood that he had the armor sustain coming out from the rally, that he wasn't going to get blown up almost immediately from the damage and the CC that was coming out, was able to get a couple of dash resets as well. And now it looks like Lingan has switched over to a full dive composition here, or actually rather full floats composition, flying goats as we call it.
Self-destruct the back now, and Mello almost watches the sun set on him as that self-destruct catches both snipers of Lab in the background. Skyshow on their way to another Dragon Strike, but does have to fall back as Lingan gets their first substantial fight win here on Dorado for the first time.
That's a classic Diva Bomb spot there coming out from Duck. Throw it over the bridge, and really you're not understanding when that Diva Bomb is going to come down. It comes down right on the moment, perfect moment to get those 2 kills, and it stops the bleeding a little bit for Lingan, who are getting rolled pretty hard. Seeds again going deep by himself, the rest of the team not with him, and they're going to have to wait a little bit longer for Laboratory to try and make this push.
Yep, and Mello doesn't have a sightline to abuse here because Lingan has control of the high ground, so it's going to even further delay any leverage Lab could really get from that DPS character. Now the tank's in full control on the high ground. That biotic grenade from downtown will whiff there from Since. Almost lands it, but not going to find pay dirt. Just under 2 minutes and 50 seconds here. Lingan diving down here, trying to find the squishies. It's Idudu who has the nano boost. Forces Laboratory to run away and might be able to get the pickup here, and Mello will do so. Nice staggered kill there. So Lab just kind of let themselves fall apart here. They kind of ignored Idudu, even though they got the Widowmaker kill, and that allows them to continue to do damage. Molly gets one on Skyshow. Idudu again dumping down. Will get stunned, but that's not going to deter them from putting more damage on. Molly waiting for them to poke, but not going to get any healing done immediately. Lab still letting these tanks of Lingan getting very, very close and force them back to the choke point.
I really like that Mello is switching over to the Pharaoh here, foregoing the Widowmaker. Widowmaker very hard to play against this flying goats composition. Siege is in the complete backline right now. I don't know where
are you going?
Yeah, that's not really where you want to be right now.
That's when you poke out of the ground like, I'm in Albuquerque. This is not where I need to be. I need to be on Dorado right now. Seeds finally rejoining the squad here. Idudu gets sent 5v5 situation against Skyshow with a Dragon Strike. Doesn't seem like the follows up there immediately, but they are able to get the kill. Though it is stolen away there by Seeds. Skyshow putting on some damage. They gotta get to cover though. This self-destruct. They're gonna try and hide behind the payload. It works, but Mello's unable to get the cover in time. Skyshow now looking for the Zarya, putting some damage down with the help of the Diva, but has to fall back as the Primal Raging Winston running wild on the rest of their team. There's the Graviton. There's the follow-up. Kami one on Synth. Bins gets demeched as well, and Lingan with all the ultimates hitting hard there and still holding on to their support ultimates.
And the ultimates were not hitting there for Laboratory, unfortunately. Again, that deep dive from Seeds, I'm not sure what the goal is. Maybe just a very, very long pincer maneuver try and just get to the backline. Again, he's by himself here. Is going to end up getting away safely, but I mean, it's just seems so uncoordinated as a dive coming out from Laboratory. Not sure exactly what they're trying to do. And Lingan has switched over to the McCree here, putting Joyby on that McCree, so they are going to have a lot more CC to try and deal with these flankers and also put some pressure on the Mellow.
Mellow, yeah, speaking of which, about to have the barrage here, looking away to sneak into the back line, putting on some great shots on the Joyby, who pokes for a second, gets hit in the face with a missile strike there. IDoDo gets slept and unable to do much. Mellow, I mean, is doing all this damage. No one is looking at them whatsoever, but they're not able to get any kills. They don't have that splash damage to get those kills off with. Now going in, using concussive blast, getting close, finds one on Molly. Molly unable to get into the back. And now a Dragon Blade from SkyShow, again, really unable to get much done. Forced back again, so many whiffed blades here from SkyShow. Unfortunately, there's too much armor and healing for Lingan, from Lingan for them to chew through.
And this is the last fight, actually. Laboratory might not even be able to get back onto this point. They have the minefield, and Siege could try his best, but there is the flashbang there, the sleep as well, and Siege is going to go down right now, Rapture.
Oh, and Joyby looking to try and get onto Seeds. IDoDo does steal the kill here. Lingan in full control. Lab again staggering, losing their tanks and leaving the rest of their team behind to die. And that's it. That's all she wrote. Now Lingan, they only got to get just about halfway through the map, just over halfway through the map, and they will take this series 4-0.
I still like some of the switches that we saw coming out from Laboratory there. You know, understanding that Widowmaker isn't going to really work against that floats composition, switching over to the Pharah. But again, Lingan also had that chess match of their own. They switched over to the Super McCree composition, and there Joyby was able to do a lot of damage to the Pharah, put a lot of pressure on her, make sure that she wasn't really worth anything. As we see here, gets that kill onto Mellow, and then is able to pop off with just all the amount of healing and sustain that he's going to get, all the pocket basically that he gets from the tanks peeling from him, from the burst healing as well from Brigitte. So it's a really good composition that they're running.
And I don't know if anyone knows, that was like a frame perfect high noon, literally caught the Mercy like 1 pixel before they were able to duck under the payload. That was actually, I thought that was pretty hype, but whatever. Either way, Lab.
No, it was hype, dude. It was hype.
Hey man, you don't gotta patronize me. You don't gotta pander. If you didn't think it was hype, Kenobi,
it was pretty.
Okay.
No, frame.
I'll
perfect,
talk about you behind your back later. There's no worries.
All right.
And now we're gonna see Lab. I mean, this is do or die for Lab, of course. I think honestly, I think they might need to get their PhD in another. They might need to get another career track here. They may want to try out history or the sciences.
You're loving these laboratory
not the
wordplay. You're just loving the laboratory wordplay that we get.
They might want to go to another undergraduate. They might want to get another degree out here because right now they're not able to mix it up. Lingan Esports in full control right now. Kenobi. I mean, do you think this defensive composition is going to work for Lab?
So the thing about this composition is that you really have the ability to put a lot of damage out because IDoDo is showing the Winston here, so you don't really have that Reinhardt barrier to mitigate a lot of the damage coming from the Pharah and from the Widowmaker. You do have the dive, however, but SkyShow here should really just feast on the backline here and frontline of Lingan Esports and do a lot of damage.
And Lab, just like we saw with Lingan, they're going to actually, they're being a little more aggressive defensively wise. We didn't see Lingan hold this high ground area at all. They just held Fountain. Lab, though, going to be a little more proactive here, trying to, well, now they're forcing Lingan to do that high ground rotation, but in doing so, Duck does get demeched and killed by SkyShow, so that's going to put the brakes on Lingan for the time being.
And that means no Matrix as well, so here, they really need to just wait for Duck to get back in mech. He is going to go back, switch over and get back into mech there, but that's very scary because they have to use so much defense matrix to stop the damage coming out from SkyShow, and once it runs out, that's it, it's over. He's going to have so much health. Look how much damage he's doing to the frontline, Rapture.
Seeds has to be careful though, and Bins as well. They might lose that front line before this fight really gets started. They're playing very aggressively at that payload, but again, Seeds does, all right, it pays off, so Molly goes down, Seeds making it worthwhile, and now the payload's going to start moving a little bit here, despite that kill. But the defense is kind of letting it happen. They really want Lingan to get out of cover behind that corner and get out into the open towards Fountains and get these picks.
Yeah, and with the alternates that Laboratory had, it's going to be very hard for them to dive. IDoDo is going really deep here, but you see how low he is already from the Pharah damage. The barrage comes out, the dive is there onto the Widowmaker rather, but Pharah is going to do a lot of damage, and it's going to be a push here for Laboratory to get through some more.
And honestly, Kenobi, Barrage, I think historically has been, an ultimate that's definitely been seen as weak, but Barrage has been kind of like the MVP ultimate here. It's really coming out. This burst option gets you some really quick kills.
I mean, when you burst it down onto the Diva Matrix specifically, that's what he did in that last fight. He really just blew up the defense matrix, and then once you get the mech out of the way, you just have so much unmitigated damage available to your side, especially, again, with Idudu, who's been at 250 health whenever he dives in because there's no damage mitigation. I'd like to see maybe a Reinhardt coming out from them to try and stop some of the damage coming from this Pharah, because right now, it's very difficult for them to get any positioning on the card. Look how low they all are.
Yeah, I feel like as Lingan, I mean, they're running this 3-3 right here. That it doesn't have the damage they normally have. Juebi on the Zarya instead of one of the DPS characters usually on him, like a Sombra, a little slightly unorthodox, but still could work. They're going for a full right side rotation. They want to get that backline. They don't want to be held high ground wise by Lab, but they still got to do something. They got to do something about Sky Show. And since taking out Idudu, who dives right into that back left corner, the payload is still trucking on through here, Kenobi, despite these wins from Lab. They still have the payload there. Lingan now getting very close to Sky Show. Somehow doesn't get hit by the self-destruct from Duck. Mello does, though. And now they're nano boosted. Sky Show looking for some shots. Has to hit direct shots here, though, but they have a sound barrier to chew through. As Langsa had popped that just in time against the nano boost that was placed on the Sky Show. Lab has to hold on here for just under a minute, but Lingan hasn't lost bodies just yet. Kami's still staying alive despite these direct hits and slightly off shots here from Sky Show. Goes down to 36 HP, then gets melted. And there it is, Kenobi. Now the snowball from Lingan.
Sky Show there missed the Pharatech with that concussive grenade and was too close to the ground. I think he clipped himself on the payload a little bit, so he wasn't able to stay alive in the air and do the damage. And now Lingan here is going to try and snowball. You're right, they have this rally from Kami who could give a lot of armor to the team, and the Graviton as well, so they can definitely push all the way through. They don't need to get it all the way to second point. Meow gets really staggered there.
And Mello, in the meantime, changing over to the Hanzo, last-ditch effort here to try and put some more damage on the barriers now. I think they realize, okay, we need some tank-crushing ability here. We need the Hanzo to just really try and pierce these tanks, pierce the armor, pierce the health pool that Lingan is throwing at Lab now. Meanwhile, Lab has a bunch of ultimates under their belt. They have Sky Show is about to get yet another barrage, and really they have been relying on these barrages from Sky Show, but is that enough to really stop Lingan in these 2 minutes and 20 seconds? Here's Seeds again with the pile driver here, not breaking any necks yet. And that'll be a minefield popped as well, but really not much to show for it. Lingan still holding strong as if nothing has really happened here. And Juebi patiently waiting for this Graviton. Amazing Matrix there, shuts down the barrage from Sky Show, and Juebi's in position to get the cleanup easily. Textbook play there from Lingan. Now there's the Dragon Strike from Mello. That whips. All dragons, all whipped out here. That's why they're extinct. I think they used to exist at some point, I'm sure. Mello with a self-destruct. That's not going to find Paydirt. Lingan just easily, casually getting these kills as Lab. As we've seen, old habits die hard. They're staggering off the point and then trying to get back onto the payload. They can't do it. And there it is. 4 maps in a row for Lingan. They take another 4-0 victory here, and it'll be over Lab this time. They're now 2-0 here in Contenders China.
Lingan doing a very good job there in that taking that 4-0 victory. It seems like they were just really the better team and the more flexible team. We saw them really kind of counter what Laboratory was bringing to the table more so than Laboratory was countering what Lingan was bringing. And we saw, I really would like to see Siege just flex a little bit more off of that Hammond, because we saw how much it needs to, you need to have that damage mitigation from something like a Pharah or a Widowmaker. If you don't really have that shielding that you get from maybe a Reinhardt or a Winston and just that ball rolling around on the point, it's very difficult for you to sustain through all that damage.
Absolutely. Lab, they tried to keep pace, but Lingan outdid them. They had the endurance, and they secured themselves another 4 maps. Congrats to them. It's not over yet for Lab, but there's not much time left in Contenders China already. Let's throw it back over to the desk to see what they have to say about those 4 maps. How about y'all take it away?
Thank you so much, Rapture and Kenobi. That was a very convincing ending to that 4-0 victory for Lingan. And right now, I've just been extremely impressed with the synergy of this team. Albion, I know that you were pretty impressed with how they've been able to play more traditional compositions into that very aggressive Hammond, into some compositions that might be, I suppose, unorthodox. Is that a major strength going into Lingan as we go further into Contenders?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good sign for Lingan that they can see what's coming from these very weird compositions from the Lab, and they can play what is relatively normal stuff into it. They don't need to get off of that kind of own comfort. They can kind of play what is already good. We saw a lot of the Brig McCree, we saw the Zarya Brig as well, we saw some Sombra Brig, and whatever it was, they were playing relatively normal compositions, but just playing the heroes like Brig especially and Sombra just gives them the tools to deal with weird stuff as long as they kind of have that focus together. And it's a really good look for Lingan. This was a match that we mentioned at the start that we want to see them kind of have a confident victory from, and they delivered, a very clean 4-0 for sure. And it's the kind of victory that, because they were able to do it against such weird stuff with standard stuff, makes us like very confident in their ability to play that standard stuff against other standard stuff. So once they get into maybe some later matchups where maybe they're also facing up against Brig McCree composition stuff, we can kind of rest assured that they're gonna be able to look good on those.
And as we do look forward on the side of Laboratory, Volamel, what major areas try to keep it to like probably one, but what's a major area where they can really improve on, especially as at the beginning of Busan they seemed a lot more strong, and then as we kept going on and on into further maps, they just lost composure. It looked like. What's something that Laboratory can do to make that stop?
So we'll do a little bit of a sour and we'll do a little bit of sweet, right?
Okay.
So the sweet, no plug here, no Sour Patch Kids plug. This ain't owl. But the sweet part about Laboratory is that they're actually very mechanically gifted. We saw Mello do very well on the McCree. That's a kind of a player that I would invest some resources into, and that's why we see the Brigitte kind of hard pocketing him and kind of playing that protect the puppy style. So they're all very, very mechanically gifted, right? And they can brawl really well. But the one thing I will say, so they're kind of sour to that sweet, is you need to be a little bit more methodical on when you're brawling. So on Horizon, we saw them run the very like hard committal dive composition, but they were taking a fight on their back foot. It's difficult to be able to do that. You're basically asking for a duel at that point. It's just a 50-50 coin flip. Like, I hope I check all the boxes, and they did, but how consistently can you really rely on those mechanics to just kind of outskill your opponent? Take that early fight in the choke point. You'll probably have a lot more success. So the big thing I would say is just, refine down that strategy and really look at where you're taking those brawly fights.
In Laboratory's defense, though, it was pretty clear towards the end of the series that they were actually starting to think about what they were doing.
Yes.
It was really clear, especially the way that they were dealing with Kami's Pharah, and they were using the Brig armor pack to give Mello the extra 75 health, so he's very unlikely to die to 2 direct rocket hits or 2 rocket hits from the Pharah, and then peeking out behind the Brig shield to take shots. And eventually they were able to kill Kami's Pharah and break through first point. I mean, Mello had a follow-up very impressive grapple shot, which always helps to kill the enemy Widow. But it's clear that they're thinking about ways to make Mello's job easier, right? Give him the armor, give him a shield to hide behind. And if they're able to kind of commit to this, maybe in a kind of more classic China style of hard pocketing your hit scan, maybe they can find some success later in the season.
And just to go back to Mello on that Widowmaker for Dorado, that was an impressive showing there, also accompanied by Sky Show's Farah, right? And I was a bit curious. Could you explain to me why at first Lingan was running a Winston Diva with a McCree, but the McCree players swapped over to a Zarya instead when they were being combated by that Widowmaker Farah composition? Why is that swap beneficial?
So the Zarya actually needs to be a little bit less afraid of the Widow and the Pharah than a McCree does. Partially because she has twice as much health, but also because she can bubble herself. So if the Pharah hard commits to the Zarya, she can bubble herself. The Widow can't actually one-shot her because a headshot is, I believe, 300 damage. It's 2.5 times 120. So she doesn't completely die to that either, and then she can bubble herself to protect herself from follow-up shots. But more importantly, Zarya can bubble her own Winston player, so that way Adudu can dive harder onto Kami's Widow and kind of make more space with that bubble, because he then has 200 extra health to play with, basically, which in turn makes Zarya do more damage.
Right. And coordination in dive is so important, as we kind of learned the hard way while watching Horizon Lunar Colony. Volamel, Laboratory's attack had quite low sustain with a Lucio Briggs support composition alongside Tracer Genji Hammond, and they were running those attack heroes into a defensive Brigitte, Junkrat, Orisa. Why what is the thought process behind that, and why was Lingan's defense so effective against those 3 very divey heroes?
So the one time, or the times where they're actually very coordinated, are the times where they kind of don't need to be coordinated, right? When we're investing all of these dive resources onto the high ground, we're committing into the Junkrat, we're committing into the Halt. It's very difficult to kind of sustain through that just with even an Ana or having a Zen Orb with you. But not to mention this composition that they drafted doesn't even have that. They don't have any kind of sustainability. They have the armor pack, which helps, the divers get in. But again, you're just kind of hoping for like a Genji reset to get you farther in to make a little bit more space. And then he's kind of left out on an island. He's not going to get any healing. I if that's the kind of style you want to run, I wouldn't hate Mellow on a Sombra to kind of get the health packs hacked. If you're really going to hard commit to this very, we have to punch through with the first dive and then we can kind of brawl it out in the point, you still have health packs you can kind of rotate from. And I would have liked to see Mello play kind of like Soon, right? It's very objective focus where he's setting the dive up so they either have to defend the high ground or they have to come down and drop to the point, which makes the diver's lives a little bit easier. Then you can kind of slow push up, you take the high ground, and then you dive the point. But they just dove the point into a Junkrat spam composition, and with no healing, no diva, it's pretty difficult.
Yes, it reminds me of one of my quick play games the other day. But as we do move on later tonight, we're going to have so many more opportunities to see the relatively unorthodox compositions of Chinese Overwatch. I've been loving it so far tonight. I know the rest of the desk has as well. But first, let's take a quick break. Let's reset a bit and get ready for our next match. We'll see you soon.